everyone, and welcome to another episode of Scholar Chit Chat. I am your host for this episode, and my name is Zainab Akinwande. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. We are glad to have you here. This is Scholar Chit Chat podcast, and here we are committed to bringing you relevant information to help your study abroad dreams. And to our returning listeners, we are glad to have you. Today, we are discussing a topic that many people experience but feel openly talk about: imposter syndrome and managing expectations. Many scholarship applicants spend months or even years preparing applications, and the good news finally comes and they begin to question themselves. Am I really qualified for this? Can I actually succeed? At the same time, there are expectations from people and even ourselves sometimes that can create additional pressure. To help us unpack this topic, OJ is here with me today. If you don't know, she's the reason why we have this podcast in the first place. But before we start, could you please briefly introduce yourself for the benefits of those joining us for the first time?
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Zainab. So for those who are joining for the first time, who may not know me, my name is Ojanugwa Abubakar. You can call me OJ for short. And as Zainab has mentioned, I'm the founder of Scholar Chit Chat. This podcast is one of our ways of helping people to achieve their study abroad dreams. I'm currently studying for a PhD at the University of Edinburgh as well. So yeah, I'm a postgraduate student myself and interested in helping other people join me to achieve their dreams.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, AJ. So you're welcome, and we're happy to have you here. So my first question for you is, did you ever have moments where you wondered whether you truly deserve the opportunity that you got?
That's a very good opening question. And I would say, to be honest, I feel like when you start out on the journey, you have a bit of conviction that this is something that you could achieve, right? So you don't start applying unless you believe that you genuinely have a chance for it. So that's kind of the first step, right? You have to believe that, okay, I could actually get a scholarship, I could travel abroad, I could complete postgraduate studies, all those things. But then I think the journey itself can be long and arduous. I think in introduction you mentioned how people could be doing this for years or for months as well. Going through the process and just putting, especially when you're writing, like when you're putting together your CV, when you're thinking about your profile and writing your personal statements, elements of that can begin to crop up. I think at that point it's still easy to have hope or to hold on to belief that, oh yeah, I'm still deserving of this, right? Then I think the moment that really shakes the hope is when a rejection comes. I think at that point you're like, okay, maybe I've just been boboing myself, right? I've been kidding myself. Maybe I'm not good enough. Like doubt starts to creep in, and then you wonder, going back to your question, whether you deserve the opportunity. So the belief that started the journey in the first place. So I mean, little setbacks can make you question everything. And I think for me, that's what happened. And I think it's not just scholarship journey, right? I think that's how things are in life. Even if it's a job they're applying for, you start up, you read the requirements and you're like, okay, maybe I don't fit 100%, but 70% of these things I've listed, I can see myself. I see that I'm qualified. I can do those things. Yeah. If you've applied to a series of jobs for some months and then you still don't have any positive feedback, then you start thinking, okay, maybe something's wrong with me. Yeah. So the scholarship journey is exactly the same kind of thing. You start, and I think for some people, maybe they don't experience it, because I know a couple of people that maybe they applied to just one scholarship and got it, or they got a scholarship in the first application round as well. They didn't have to do it a second time. So maybe at that time, at least regarding scholarship applications, they did not have any doubt. But I mean, that's not the only junction. So if anybody's like me, you're not alone. I had, and I still do have moments of doubt when I apply for stuff actually.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vijay. Like, I agree with what you said. And yes, you are not alone for those that are listening to us. Okay, next question. So for those who may be listening to us that are unfamiliar with the term imposter syndrome, how would you describe the term in your own words?
All right, so that's a good shout. When we came up with the topic, when the topic was shared or brought up, I was like, oh yeah, that's a good shout, right? And then I went to check out what imposter syndrome meant. Obviously, your question asks in my own words, but I want to give what the not official, at least what AI has summarized, because I just searched it. So this is Gemini's summary of what imposter syndrome is, and it says imposter syndrome is the persistent internalized feeling that you do not deserve your success. So despite clear evidence of your hard work and competence, you may secretly fear that you are a fraud and will eventually be exposed. So that's imposter syndrome. And I've seen it described as the opposite of overconfidence. So it's when what you believe your ability is less than what your abilities actually are. So meanwhile, overconfidence is when you kind of have limited skills, but you believe that you can do much more than you can actually do. So they're kind of opposite. So that kind of helps me contextualize. For me, in my own terms, it's kind of basically the same thing, right? Just feeling of doubt, feeling that you don't deserve, but what you could rightfully have, that's imposter syndrome. And I think part of the issue is because I've mentioned one, which is the fact that when you are on a path, you face resistance. Things do not necessarily always go smoothly. So that can raise feelings of doubt for yourself. And then another thing is some people also tend to disqualify themselves. So that's even just one, right? Some people actually get to start. There are people who imposter syndrome stop at the gates. So these sets of people don't even start applying. They just never believe that the opportunity is for them, even when they kind of check out the box. I think for me, starting off was not difficult because I was like, oh yeah, because I graduated with the first class. So it seemed like the logical step. Anybody I would speak to would kind of say, oh yeah, definitely you're qualified, right? But for some other people, they have maybe a 2-1. A lot of people do have, much more people have 2-1s from first class, right? So that first class, right? But somebody may have it, someone like, I don't have a first class, so I cannot apply. Meanwhile, anywhere and everywhere, 2-1 tends to be the minimum requirement. So yeah, anybody with a 2-1, technically, if that's their inclination, can actually get into it. And then I can talk about one other funny imposter syndrome experience for me was the fact that I never bothered to apply for a PhD direct to the US. It was a thing at that time when we were applying. So that was like 2020, 2021. I think it just started becoming much more common. I think that people that applied after then, more people did it. But for me, I was like, oh my God, my microbiology, because again, STEM, it did not help. I was like, I didn't do a lot of practical stuff. So how will I just go directly to a PhD? And then they'll give me a topic and then they'll say I should start working on stuff. Like, I was just so sure I wasn't going to be able to do it. So I disqualified myself automatically. I didn't even try to apply to a PhD directly. Now I know better, right? And I realized I had just disqualified myself unnecessarily. I had all that was needed because they were going to train me. Fine, maybe there would have been a steep learning curve, right? But it was completely possible because I know people who then went ahead to do STEM degrees directly after their undergraduate degrees in Nigeria. Again, so these are just examples of, as I said, imposter syndrome, right? So at least speaking directly from my own perspective. So yeah, that's it. So some people want to be perfect, some people want to be geniuses, some people want to be super or experts before they actually try to get. Some people want to fit the criteria 100% before they try something, but that's not necessarily it. So I think I've talked a lot about it, but that's my understanding of what imposter syndrome is.
Thank you so much, Vijay. The explanation is apt, and I'm sure that many people can relate to that. Okay, so you give an example of when you talk to yourself out of a situation with the US page story. Or was there like other situations where you probably compared yourself with other scholars or you feared not meeting expectations?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. There have been a number of situations. I mean, outside of graduate school applications, right? I mean, I think social media can also feed into these things sometimes. At least the way social media is used, because people rarely share the background sometimes, right? It's more convenient or more likely that people will share the success story. Like, oh, I'm happy to announce that. What people are most likely to share. I'm happy to announce that. And then you just, in your mind, you kind of, especially the other people you don't know them personally, you just imagine that, oh, they have some connect, they have some super credential to be able to achieve whatever it is they are doing in the first instance. So you just think, oh, there's something special about them. You kind of mystify them, oh, there's something special about them. And then you talk yourself, again, that's another thing, that's an instance where you talk yourself out of it because you're like, oh, this is for this type of people and I'm not that type of people. But then I think since getting the scholarship, I've come to see that there is not a special type of people that things are for. So for instance, I would not lie, there's I think we call it the Matthew effect, which is he who has more will be given. I think that's the Matthew effect. So that's actually what happens in life. He who has, to him who has, even more will be given unto them, something like that. That's kind of what it is. So people who are not afraid to start small are the people who have, or those who are faithful in little are the people that receive even much more. So a lot of time when I see people that I am envious of now, or when I've compared myself to people, what I have done is to try to get a backstory. I'm saying this because I can't can't really think back. It's been a while that I have done this. So I can't really call up specific instances in my mind of me comparing myself. But I can think about what I currently do in the movement. When I'm looking at someone, I'm like, oh, this person is cool. How does this person get opportunities? I make sure to start that I go and try to get some background of the person. I don't just like envy from afar and just say, oh, this person's high up there. Oh wow, I can just stay and be wowing about their life and maybe I will never be able to get there. I try to see if I can understand where they're coming from. If they have a good looking picture, I go and look through it. I'm like, okay, what are the steps? What are the steps the person may have taken that may have positioned them in that place? And then I look at where I am, what little things I can add up to, and kind of to get to where they are. So I think it's quite difficult for me because now I've learned to start using people as inspiration rather than to feed imposter syndrome, because I'm like, I can't be doing that. I have to be able to look at one and actually draw inspiration from them. Like, oh, it's good, I'm happy for you. But okay, if what you have is what I want, or if I want something similar, how can I then learn from your life? One of the things I remember vividly in my scholarship journey was I started getting a lot of rejections, and then there was this person I served with, because I stayed in family house, family house when I was serving, and we used to talk. He studied microbiology as well, and we used to talk about scholarships. I think he graduated with the first class as well. We used to talk about scholarships. We started applying during NYSC and we got rejections, and then I think after NYSC, he had the same session. Next thing, he just reached out, oh, I've gotten the MasterCard scholarship, I'm going to Canada. I remember that time because I was like, wow, and I was like I was like, wait, this guy doesn't have two head. I know this person, like we live together. I really know, we've kind of vibed. We had the same. That was when I was starting to feel lethargy, like I was starting to get tired of the application and everything. But when I was inspired, I was refired. I was like, okay, I can't slow. That time I remember it very well because it was the fuel I used to apply for my Commonwealth scholarship. I was like, this guy's already got him. And I applied for that MasterCard as well. I was like, this guy is going to Canada. I'm still here. I cannot dull because I know this person. I know him. Like our credentials are very similar. It wasn't from a place of envy. I think I just used him as inspiration, as fuel at that point. It was very, very needed for my soul. I sat down, I was writing my essay with a vengeance, with a determination. I was like, by fire, by force. So this is it. No, all my being and everything within me. Because I've already been applying. I was already getting to the point of tiredness, but I was like, this guy has landed this. I know how we have been doing the struggle together. Me too. I want to share my own testimony. So that's it. So it wasn't for me. It wasn't an instance that triggered self. Like it wasn't comparing myself to people, to him or to other fellow people. Doesn't necessarily trigger self-doubt in me. It kind of just inspires me. Or at least I have now learned, and put that down, to use people as inspiration. But yeah, to be honest, I'm trying to think about specific this, but I would say that for me, usually more like situation specific than people specific that triggers self-doubt. So if I'm given a task, if I'm to do something, yeah, obviously, or if I'm to apply for opportunities, that is usually the point where I get to, and I'm like, because I tend to have that, I just meet only 70%, so I'm not 100% fit. Should I apply? Should I not apply? Even up till now, to be honest, I still have it. Sometimes I'm able to give myself a pep talk and apply. Sometimes I actually do not apply. It still happens to me now, right? That opportunities tend to pass me by just because I feel like I don't 100% fit. And I know this thing, I don't have to be 100% fit to try. But up till now, even this very moment, even of recent, it's very fresh in my mind, the opportunity that I was like, should I not? And then I went with, okay, I would not. And I just let the application pass by like that.
Thank you so much for that. I think one thing that really stood out to me was the fact that I said that you use other people's success stories to fuel, right? It doesn't like hold you back or make you doubt yourself. Rather, you use that as an inspiration to do more. I really love that. Okay, well done. Okay, so how has this feeling of maybe self-doubt, okay, you say no, maybe self-doubt, like you said, you still experience sometimes, or fear of not meeting expectations, how did that like affect your confidence or prep for grad school at the time you were applying?
Yeah, so I think I would say the first time I was applying for grad school probably was on the side of overconfident. I said I probably. Okay. I'm not sure. I wasn't feeling a lot of doubt because there was time when I think I've shared on the podcast before how I actually got to it. So I got out the first class and then it wasn't official, but for some reason I already knew it. I think somebody told me that kind of saw the results from a lecturer. So I told my mom, and my mom told one of her friends, and that her friend had already done a master's in the UK, I think, and was going for a PhD in Canada at that time. And so she was the one that was like, she called me, the friend called me, and was like, you guys, I heard that you're graduating the first class, start researching. I'll call call you later today. Tell me some university. And she was like, I think she wanted, because she was going to Canada at the time. She kind of wanted me to research into Canadian school. So it wasn't even, because she did her master's in the UK, but she wasn't even telling me do UK anything. She was like, just look into Canada and then I'll call you back today. So I think she called me in the morning. And so that was kind of what prompted me. So this is somebody who is my mom, because my mom's friend, mom's age mate, and then she was really on my case. So that day I remember spending the day, and then I just started reading out. Like, it was a lot to take in, because to be honest, not like I was a novice. My siblings had already studied abroad, but I wasn't really. Again, my result was not yet official. Like, I hadn't gotten an official result. So that's how what started journey for me. So it was like, oh, I didn't even need to either believe in myself or not believe in myself at that point. It didn't really matter. Somebody was believing, and I had the task to get done. So that's when what started my interest. I would say sort of prematurely, not prematurely, but it was good anyway. And then when I went for NYSC, and I think for me again, I was also like, oh, I want to do NYSC, right? Let me go for NYSC. I've not even gotten a result of going for NYSC. So the whole thing was still very far in my mind, but that was a very good experience of just having somebody believe in me, somebody thinking about me and saying, oh, because of this you will qualify for it. So it kind of helped boost my confidence. But so which is why I always talk about getting rejection shaped things for me, because when I didn't get it, I was like, after, and I mean, I have from all my research, because I had time to much more research, right? I went for NYC before I even actually put in an application and everything. So I was like, about how this person was very confident I would get it. My own research, reading about stuff, watching YouTube suggests that I should be able to get it. So why did I not get it? So that kind of shook me. So because again, if you've applied, or for people who are applying to graduate school, you know how, apart from how intense the process is, as a physically or financially or whatever, it's also quite time consuming, and it's not just dependent on you, right? Most times you also need to involve recommenders, people, your referees, and then you also, and when you submit, I don't know about other people, but I think for me, when I submit applications, I'm so hopeful, so full of hope, pouring out prayers and all the positive energy towards the application. Is a lot emotionally, right? So you're not getting it the first time around, and as I said, the first time around, it's not just one scholarship. It was a lot of applications to different things. And the funny thing is, because as I decided to focus on the UK eventually, when I started doing all my research, I was like, okay, I would like to go for a master's in the UK, and part of the process is applying to universities for admission, like just regular admission. And I remember applying in that first round, and I applied to, I think it was University of Leicester, and like the next day I had gotten admission, and I was like, yes, this is a sign, I'm good, right? And then I applied to maybe University of Southampton. I applied to a lot of universities that year, maybe like 5 or 6. All of them gave me admission, because why not? They're not giving you money, they're asking you to come and spend money. So if you want to come and spend money, why not take admission and come and spend your money, right? It's the people that are supposed to give you money, that's where the big hurdle is. So, and that's something I later got to learn, right? So I was like, why would I have like 5 admission and nobody wants, and I did not get any scholarship. So at the beginning, as I said, I think God has been good to me, because at the point where I've been like, maybe this thing is a pipe dream, maybe this is unachievable, maybe I'm not just good enough. The point where I've just thrown into trial completely was when someone had been going through the process, who just came and told me, oh, I've got this scholarship, and I was like, okay, this is fire, I can do this, it's possible. The guy's profile is not much more different than mine, so I don't see why, if they can give me money, they can't give me money too, kind of thing. So those are all the situations. So which is why I said initially maybe I came from a point of overconfidence, because my own perception of my abilities or my capabilities did not really matter when I was starting out. It was like, oh, people just said, oh, this is something you can do and you should do. I mean, I didn't mind, like I always want to fancy a career in academia, so it fits well with my goals, although I hadn't had time to like really sit down and think about it. But I had someone who just like lit the fire in me initially, and then when the fire would have been doused by the realities of the complexities of the journey, then I got like a rainbow, kind of a signal that don't give up, there's light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, I would not lie, it did affect me. Like I was drained, my spirit, soul and body was exhausted of the whole process.
Thank you, Jane. Like as someone that has applied to grad school before, I know that it's a very long and stressful period. Very long. But again, like you said, at the end of the day, it's worth it now. Since now you're in the UK,
It
you're
is
reaping the reward of your hard work.
a bit of persevering.
Okay, so let's talk about expectations now. Starting your journey, what expectations did you have about studying abroad or being a scholarship recipient?
Okay, so this is a good angle we are going into. So in terms of expectations, let's see. Honestly, okay, so So obviously, right, it was a dream. Something I was like, oh yeah, this is the next logical step for my career and everything. But again, there was also the jackpot escapism. I was also added to it in the sense that, oh, I'm going to Greenland. We had this land green on the other side. Try a green place anyway. So less stress, things working, more money. So yeah, apart from just expectations of graduate school, there was expectations of life that I had in terms of like, oh, I'm living Nigeria when things were starting to get a bit, we're going downhill. I think they're still going downhill, but when things were starting to not make much more sense, and then I had a bit of an escape. So I was like, oh yeah, it looked like all my problems, not all my problem, but a very huge chunk of my problem will be solved, right? Then I'm going to study all the practical things that I wasn't able to do as an undergraduate. I'll get equipment. I would, experience a new culture, make new friends, travel. So yeah, there was a lot of expectations attached to studying abroad, and then getting a scholarship was supposed to make it easier to study abroad. So I mean, I think I just pictured that life would be easier, generally simpler, just lighter. I don't know. Yeah, that was very rosy picture was actually what I had in terms of expectations.
So we have the expectations on the left hand side and the reality on the right hand side. So compared to expectations, right? What was the actual reality when you got the scholarship and actually traveled abroad and jackpot?
Yeah. A lot of times I don't really like talking about this part of it, because I'm like, there is a part of where I'm giving my answer prayers, and there's a lot of gratitude attached to that. So granted that everything was not exactly as I envisioned, I feel like maybe it would be ungrateful to complain about it. And also sometimes, and also I mean, I think, let me say, in quote, hardship or difficulty or challenges, whatever the word, kind of different. I don't know that they're directly comparable, because like the difficulties or the hardship of being in Nigeria, and even the enjoyment, because there definitely is enjoyment, there's positives of being in Nigeria, are completely different from the challenges and also the benefit of being abroad. So it's part of the reality. It's part of it. Oh, you're not really thinking. In fact, even when you're thinking about the weather, you're thinking, oh, snow pictures that you take and all those cute jackets. Blue sky, right? So those are the things you'll be thinking about then. But then when you come to and you get to live it, it can be quite depressing. Even for people born on the island in the UK here, it's quite depressing, because sunshine now becomes something that when the sun shines, you'll be thanking God, because the sun rarely shines, and it's always wet and dark, short daylight, very cold. It affects people's moods, because you never really think about vitamin D until you get here and you understand that, oh, vitamin D from the sunshine actually helps your mood. People are happier when there's sunlight. That's without a doubt. So that's one. The weather, challenges of the weather is one very, very big factor. Being cold it's definitely a shock to the system and to yours again. So you can just being cold, and then it affects your mood at the same time. And then obviously you then become homesick. There's a reason why home is home, right? You become homesick. Everything familiar is gone. So again, I usually think about this with a heavy heart and with sadness, to be honest. It's not one of my favorite things. It's so sad to me that living the country should be the thing of dreams for a Nigerian or an African or whoever anyway. It's because it's just quite sad, because you leave everything you're familiar with. You leave your family, you leave your friends, people you've known for a good number of years, and then you come to a new place, new culture, then you have to start assimilating. I mean, there are people who are born here, they never dream of leaving, and they have what we are traveling all the way for. They have it just at their doorstep, right? So why do I have to travel all the way for me to believe in the reality? Like, Nigeria should work. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So that is the reality of traveling and getting us to travel and study abroad, right? You leave everything familiar. It's a lot. It's a lot. Part of the things that helped me when I moved in my own time was, one, when I moved into the UK, I moved to London. London is probably the most diverse city in the UK. So I never really felt like I was a stranger. I used to tell people I never really felt like I was a stranger. It did feel sort of like home, apart from the fact that I didn't know anybody. But almost everybody I met were not British anyway. They were from all over the world. There's a very high density or population of black people as well in London. I think it has the most population of black people in the UK. So I didn't move somewhere somewhere that was in the Midlands or in the North, where because there were fellow scholars who moved to places where they would not see a black person in months or whatever. That was not my reality. So at least for that, I think I would not say, but that's a reality that people don't consider, right? Everything new. Then the academic reality is also set in, right? The academic system was quite different. I had to get used to style, even just the accents of lecturers, not just British accents, actually accents from all around the world, because when you are taught in a school that is like globally good, right, they attract top talent, and top talent can come from anywhere in the world. So it wasn't just learning how to understand the British accent, was learning how to understand any accent that will pop up along the way. And then just learning the style of teaching, style of assessments. Well, then obviously there's missing food. Food is a comfort thing. Food doesn't just strengthen your body, it strengthens your soul, I would like to say. And then you get to miss all that. Because initially I was quite excited about trying diverse cuisine. Now I can't remember last time I ate out, like in terms of actual food, because I can't remember, but like I don't buy food anymore because I just always make my Nigerian food, to be honest. The days of any fascination are long gone. I just want to be eating Nigerian food now. I never thought this would be me. But again, those are things you miss. Yesterday I was at an event and it was a farewell for international students who were going back to their home country. And then the international students got to speak about things that they were going to do when they got back. A lot of them started with, I'm just going to first eat a lot of Chinese food, because some of them are from China. I'm going to eat Chinese food because it's different from the one here. You think Chinese food is everywhere, but for them, there's all authentic Chinese food, right? I mean, I could eat jollof rice here, but there's still party jollof. It's different from the one you cook by yourself. All readily, I'm going to Amala Sky or whatever. All those things are missing. Okay, let me see. I don't want to rattle too much about food, but food is very important.
We get the list already.
So yeah, that's it. But I think one of the positives, I would not want to say that there are positives for the journey. I mean, there's a reason why I set out and why anybody's applying for it, right? One of the things is the opportunities with surplus opportunity, like it's just amazing, truly. Like you are just exposed to a world where, and I remember I've said this in one episode before, maybe in the early days. So because I stayed in London, a couple of Commonwealth scholars, ladies would, when they come to London, sometimes they chat me up because they want a place to stay, maybe overnight or 2 nights, something like that. So they come and stay with me. And one of the things that's connected, I think about 2 or 3 ladies came to stay when I was in London within the year. They came around for a couple of nights. One thing that connected 3 of them is something that's very interesting, in the sense that those 3 ladies barely slept the nights that they were with me. They were not sleeping. Some of them, maybe they had deadlines, so they were working, doing stuff. They came to London for other opportunities, something different. They came to do something else. But at the same time, the possibilities is just surplus. And I think it affected all of us, because like we already, people were hustling, you're trying to find way, and then you come here and then they just apply for this. They are looking for people, and then we just try to do everything. Coming from that place of shortage and scarcity, we just wanted to do everything. So we just had people who were working really hard. And I'd say it's like my master's is the most stressed time, or was the most stressed time of my life. I tried to do everything, and there's only 24 hours in a day. And first of all, the master's program was very intense on its own, and then I tried to do many other things in combination with it. So I was just barely sleeping, so stressed out. And again, I said, this was something I noticed as well among the scholars that came to stay with me. I'm like, why are you? I was able sleeping more than them. But again, I want to say that's one of the reasons why we do this, right? Because you get access to opportunities and all the things you dream of, some of them do come to pass, but just the things you don't think that you would miss, those are the things that actually now mean the most.
So that's profound. Thank you. Okay, so now we're about to round up. So what practical steps do you think are helpful when dealing with imposter syndrome? Okay, so I would say when dealing with imposter syndrome, I think for me, I usually talk to myself. I like to give myself pep talks. I don't stand in front of the mirror and do pep talks. This is the mental pep talk type of thing, right? As I said, most times when I see opportunities and I'm like, maybe I'm not 100% fit, should I not? I'm debating with myself, right? I'm engaging myself. But at the same time as well, one of the things you can do is try to draw inspiration from people. It helps me, right? Because everybody has a story. So which is why I always encourage people
to learn about people's stories. I know I do have a friend that likes to read autobiographies or biographies. They are good because you see how people make progress. There's nobody, at least if the person goes write their autobiography, somebody's going to write a biography of them. Nobody got to where they are because they only went for things that they were 100% fit for. Life is all about risk. You will see how people take risks, how chance also plays a part as well, how by chance people are able to get opportunities and that kind of just skyrockets or helps them. So I would encourage you to feed your soul with this kind of things that would encourage you and uplift you, so that you are not just, because there's a thing in Nigerian context where you're like, oh, if you hear someone, because again, before I even talk about that, like if you hear someone in Nigeria that's successful and then they try to act them, they'll just tell you, nah, God, or it's God that did it. They're not really open with what the reality of the journey is like. I don't know how many really good biographies or autobiographies for people of Nigerian origin that we have. But in any case, try to feed your soul, try to get the real gist of how things happen. I think it would really, really help you put things into perspective when you're sitting. And then I'll say another thing is, if you're a perfectionist or if you're somebody that believes you have to be a genius or whatever, always up your competence, up your skills, look for opportunities to stay on top of a game. I think that the more competent you become, the higher or the more you get more prestigious opportunities, right? I don't think imposter syndrome is something that actually ever leads to you, because the more you upskill, then you shoot for even bigger things. But again, I'll just say becoming more competent probably help you. I don't think that would ever be a disadvantage. So become more competent, and then you can surround yourself with good people, right? People who would uplift you, who would tell you as it is, the reality is the truth, and not just people who will be, I'm happy to announce. When you see behind the scene BTS of what makes things that you are gunning for, that will probably help as well with dealing with imposter syndrome. Then what other practical step can I say? Because I think that the more I'm aware of the world and all the things that go behind the scene, the less I let imposter. I still, as I said, it still affects me, but I'm gradually, it's baby steps. But I can see how I am becoming better at things, because again, there's some short. I would be honest, there's some shots I'm still scared to take. As I said, well, baby steps. There's some things I'm like, oh well. Some days I'm like, oh, what can I stand to lose? And I just go for it. And I think that's another thing that can help, right? It's like, what's the worst that can happen? No. And if you do get the opportunity, right, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. One of the very interesting things that helped me in my master's as well, because when we got to class, it was like, because I kind of somehow switched fields, but the beauty was that the field was sort of new, so all of us in class did not really know what we're doing. Nobody had a bachelor's in the course, so everybody was switching fields as well. And then I had classmates from Oxford and from the US, and everybody doesn't know what to do, right? People were still writing essays and getting A's and B's and C's, right? But in reality, when it came to, because we also did group work, right? When it comes to group work and we want to start, you realize that I finished from Nigeria, and I was the only black person in my class, and I probably the most this, because I think most of the people were British, American, there was a Chinese, Canadian. Yeah, that was basically that, then me, Nigerian. So I probably say, maybe I would think in my mind, imposter syndrome was going to creep in that, I'm the least quote educated person there. But when it came time for us to do the assessments and stuff like that, I realized that, well, I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid, because everybody, so it helps maybe so maybe it may not apply to people who maybe are doing engineering or whatever. Maybe people would, because again, I've heard of people who they go to class and they're like, they did not really understand anything. I've heard scholars say that they didn't understand anything of what they were saying, so they really, really needed to go back and work on their background. So that's a possibility. But just know that you can do it. I used to say, if getting the scholarship was a big booster. So sometimes when I felt down, I was like, I don't know if I know what I'm doing. I was starting questioning myself. I was like, well, the UK government thought it wise to invest this money. Again, I'm talking to myself. I used to do that. I used to try to feed my, let's say, ego, not ego, but I just try to improve my morale, boost my morale, ginger myself. So those are some of the things. Yeah, so practical steps. So I've talked about a diverse range of things, but those are the ways I approach it when I want to deal with imposter syndrome.
So our second to final question, what would you say to someone who has just received a scholarship but feels they are good enough?
Alright, so it's very simple. Actually, it's kind of like one of the last things I said to myself. Whatever the scholarship, just realize somebody thought that you were good enough to to get some money, right? And scholarships most times they're good deal of money. So there's something about you that made somebody believe in you. So because there's usually like different types of motivation, right? There's internal and external. So even if you can't find any internal motivation, you can look to the external. If you already have a scholarship, you have received the scholarship, right? Then that should be enough external motivation. If you have to say it to yourself, if you have to call your friend to have them say it to you, so you can rely on external motivation in that period. But I would say you got the money, you are good enough, you can do it.
Exactly. So finally, what advice would you give listeners who are currently applying for scholarships and doubting themselves?
Well, what I would tell you is we've all been there. It's not new. You're not the first person. You're not going to be the last person. But if you've been able to overcome the hurdle if you've been able to overcome the initial hurdle, which is getting through the gates, believing that you can actually get a scholarship, then that's something. There's a reason why you started the journey in the first place. You were able to overcome that barrier and then you were able to think, this is for me. So regardless of what the obstacles you faced or you are facing, remember, it could still be for you. So don't give up. It's possible. Keep dreaming, keep applying, keep improving yourself, and one day, hopefully very soon, you'll get the yes that will change everything.
Hey, so just like what they said, don't give up. Okay, so as we wrap up today's conversation, I want you to come a couple of things. 1, feed your soul with positivity. 2, draw inspiration from people. 3, let other people's stories fuel you. 4, talk yourself out of doubt. 5, speak to people who have gone down that path. 6, upskill and become more competent. And finally, just give yourself a chance, really. That's the worst that can happen. Thank you so much, Oje, for sharing your insights with us today. As everyone listening, remember, opportunities are not given accidents. If you earn the place on the table, you belong there. Until next time, keep striving, keep growing, and stay inspired.